All right. Good morning, third graders. So today we just finished our morning meeting. We just discussed positive things about each other. And we also played a game about our parts of speech called Hot Potato. So moving on, today we'll learn what it means to compare and contrast what we learned about two special people today. So does anybody know what comparing and contrasting may mean? Yes, it means to find the similarities and differences of two or more things. And we're going to be, like I said, we're going to be doing two special people today. So let's get into it. Let me share my screen. All right. All right. So yes, we're going to be comparing and contrasting character traits today. All right. So let's read our learning objective together. I can compare and contrast the character traits of John Adams and Thomas Jefferson. All right, does anybody may know who John Adams is? Yes, he's the second president of the United States. What about Thomas Jefferson? Yes, he's the third president of the United States. What about, let's see, they're both something that we've been learning in class. Yes, they're both founding fathers. And also when you think about Thomas Jefferson, you can really think about Louisiana because yes, he was in charge of the Louisiana Purchase. Good. All right, so let's All right, so let's take a little closer look at John and Tom. So here's John Adams. Does anybody, what can y'all tell me about him physically wise, like feature wise? Yeah, he has white hair. Yeah. Somebody say he had a big nose. Yeah. And he does look a little older. Yeah. What about Thomas Jefferson? Same thing. He has gray hair and he looks older, seeing those wrinkles. All right. So what we're describing about them, what would that be? Like what we're doing? Yes, we're describing their character traits. So what is a character trait? Let's see. A character trait or character traits are words that describe a character's personality or qualities that make them who they are. In other words, how you would describe that character to someone else, basically. So let's go back. So yes, we did the physical of like how they both have white hair, how they both look older, but also there's something else that we were describing of how what the second and the third president of the United States, their founding fathers, those are called qualities. And all of that together are their character traits. So it's not just something physical or anything like that. It's also like their personality, what they've done, everything that makes them a character trait. So I want you to think about what one of your character traits may be, and I want you to think about it for a few seconds. And just think about what one of your character traits would be. All right, so now with a partner, I want you to share that character trait with them. And then after that, I want you to think about a character trait that your partner has and then share that with them as well. And I'll give you a couple seconds. All right, does anybody want to share out what the character trait is that they have for either themselves or their partner? No? All right, so let's keep it pushing. All right, so today I have a story for y'all. I would usually do this on the document camera. It's called Those Rebels, John and Tom, and it's by Barbara Curley. So we're not going to be able to read the whole book today, but this story is really special to me. It's about how Thomas Jefferson and John Adams basically came up with the Declaration of Independence. Does anybody know what the Declaration of Independence is? Yes, it's basically like a breakup letter to England. It was like, we do not want to be a part of England anymore. It's taking place during, what time period would this really be taking place during? Yes, the American Revolution. Fantastic, y'all. All right, so I'm only going to read a couple pages. All right, so let's do this one page. The true story of how one gentleman, short and stout, and another, tall and lean, formed a surprising alliance, committed treason, and helped launch a new nation. So looking short and stout, which one would be short and stout? Would that be more John Adams or Thomas Jefferson? Yeah, John Adams is looking more short and stout than stout. That's kind of bulky. All right, and what about tall and lean? Yeah, that's giving more Thomas Jefferson. He's giving more tall and lean. See, you're seeing the picture here. You can see it here too. How John Adams is more short and stout, while John Adams is more tall and lean. So that's their physical features and how that's also a character trait. When John Adams and Thomas Jefferson were young, they were very different. Can anybody think of how they may be different from maybe their siblings or their classmates in here, how we all have different character traits? John skipped school to fly kites and shoot marbles. He loved swimming, hunting, and wrestling, and the occasional boxing match, just for kicks. Tom didn't skip school. He skipped recess to study Greek grammar. He loved dancing, playing the violin, and reading all the books in his father's library. So these are also character traits. They may not be physical, like we said, but they're qualities that they possess. So we can tell, can anybody tell me the character traits of John Adams here? Yes, he loved swimming, hunting, and wrestling. And what about Thomas Jefferson? Yes, he loved dancing, playing the violin, and reading. When John and Tom grew up, they were even more different. John liked to talk and talk. In college, he joined a debating club so he could talk some more. And when he became a lawyer, he found he could talk for hours without using any notes, a handy skill in the courtroom. He loved nothing more than to battle wits with a lively argument. Tom was shy. He dreaded speaking in front of crowds. Talking too loudly made his voice hoarse. When he became a lawyer, he found he didn't enjoy presenting cases to the jury. A bit of a problem in the courtroom. He hated arguments. If he had any idea, he quietly wrote it down. So we're seeing some more character traits here. So what's some character traits of John Adams here? Yes, he liked to talk and talk and talk. What about Thomas Jefferson? Yeah, he hated talking. So we're seeing some differences. So if we were to compare and contrast here, which are finding similarities and differences, we're seeing that they're quite different here. But there are some things that they had in common as well, some similarities. So let's read another page. And then there were all those taxes, a tax on sugar, on coffee and tea, on glass, on paint, and on calico cloth. Newspapers, contracts, and even decks of cards. King George and his government taxed them all. They thought America was nothing but a big fat piggy bank to be turned upside down and shaken for coins. Does anybody here own a piggy bank? I know y'all are kind of young. And so in fall of 1774, a group of Americans planned a meeting in Philadelphia, a Continental Congress, to figure out what to do about it. Something had to change. Does anybody know what the Continental Congress was? Yes, it's a meeting that took place. All right, so skipping forward a little bit, we're seeing a lot of details, the character traits that are similar and different among both of them. They both hated taxes. As he took stock of new delegate from Virginia, John, the son of a farmer and shoemaker of the North, couldn't help noticing that Tom was impeccably dressed and very soft-spoken, with gracious manners that pleased everyone. He was also quite tall, and Tom, the son of an aristocrat, planter of the South, couldn't help noticing that John was plainly dressed and spoke rather bluntly with gruff manners and sometimes pleased almost no one. He was rather short. So looking back at those character traits that we saw earlier, let's go back, of how John Adams is more on the short side and Thomas Jefferson is more on the tall side for those physical character traits. And they also had said another word, delegate. Does anyone know what a delegate is? Yes, it's a representative. All right, so we're also seeing some similarities in this book too. The two very different men sense that working together, they might accomplish more than working alone. Perhaps they can compel their fellow delegates or representatives during the Continental Congress to action. So through this action, they were able to basically cooperate. So you know how we all share with our partners. So they were able to share their ideas and come up with a Declaration of Independence to share in front of the delegates. Right. So this was a picture of them at the Continental Congress we all know that Thomas Jefferson was more on the shy side, so he wrote the Declaration of Independence, while John Adams was more on he loved to talk and talk and talk. So they both played off of each other's strengths, similar how we do in here. And so finally, the next morning, after almost 2 years of turmoil, a united America was ready to vote. And they voted yes on the Declaration of Independence. All right, and we'll come back and we'll read the whole book later. All right, so now I have some character traits here, and we're going to compare and contrast John Adams and Thomas Jefferson on a Venn diagram. Does anybody know what a Venn diagram is used for? Yes, a Venn diagram is used to compare and contrast things. So in this case, we're going to be comparing and contrasting John Adams and Thomas Jefferson. So everyone's going to receive one and come put it up here. So there's already a couple up here for y'all to see. All right, so we're just going to add some more for time's sake. So loved swimming, hunting, and wrestling. We know that that was a trait of John Adams. It doesn't always have to be physical, like I told y'all. A great speaker. Again, John Adams liked to talk and talk and talk. So that's his. All right, delegate. So they're both delegates. So this is our both column. So it's going to go under both, along with how they hated taxes. They helped launch a new nation together, and they both helped put together the Declaration of Independence. All right, dreaded speaking. We know that that's Thomas Jefferson. And being shy, that's also Thomas Jefferson. And the students would come and put the cutouts on the board. So lastly, y'all are going to receive a note card with the prompts. Compare and contrast your special trait that we did earlier with either John Adams or Thomas Jefferson in a paragraph. And you would receive a note card and do the paragraph on the back. All right, and then after that, we're going to restate our objectives. All right, so I can compare and contrast the character traits of John Adams and Thomas Jefferson. All right, so next time we'll be getting more deeply on the Declaration of Independence and how they came together and wrote it, and also of how some other people were also involved in it. We can go deeper into the book when we get back. And yes, just savoring the promise of the new future. And there's some other figures that we can focus on here. And it's just two extraordinary rebels, John and Tom. All right, I will see y'all next class.